We've got another attempted kill in episode 4 of A Murder at the End of the World, plus a few interesting minor details that you may have missed. So in this video, I'm going to recap the events of the episode, plus share my thoughts, which includes at least one pretty wild theory, so stick around for that. Let's get to it. The episode opens with our characters being taken to an underground safe room while Todd and his team assess the situation upstairs. In the room, the group theorizes what really happened to Rohan when Darby says she believes it was heart failure. She and Lee go on to explain that Rohan's pacemaker was likely hacked, leading to a malfunction causing his death. When asked how this is even possible, Lee says you'd have to hack a pacemaker home monitoring system, which coincidentally they have within the hotel. Eva explains that they have one in the medical suite and that it's normally kept in a cabinet, but today someone had taken it out, plugged it in, and turned it on. Todd and Marius return to the room and say police can't get in with the storm closing in. Todd goes on to say they've confirmed Rohan's death was a heart attack. When Darby asks Marius if they've spoken with Heartfront, he gives Todd a suspecting look, but doesn't respond to Darby. This one moment is perhaps the most puzzling in the entire episode, so stick around till later and I'll explain why that is. The group is told there's been an avalanche and they're all trapped there for at least 48 to 72 hours, and that Andy is trying to sort things out from a secure location. Darby asks to examine Rohan's body since nobody will be coming, but she's told that won't be happening and his body will be stored in the freezer. Todd tells everyone they're cleared to go back upstairs, but that they'll be going into lockdown in their rooms. Todd escorts everyone back to their rooms and tells them that even though the internet is shut down until after the storm, they have to turn over all electronics during lockdown. I find it interesting that Todd said that the internet was shut down during the storm and not down because of the storm. This makes me think that they intentionally took things offline, likely due to all these crazy events that have been happening. Moments after making it back to her room, Sean knocks outside Darby's back door. Before letting her in, Darby asks Sean if she's VI or Emacs, a coding question only a hacker would understand, and Darby would have known if Sean understood. But when Sean appears to be clueless, Darby lets her in. Sean apologizes for not supporting Darby up to this point, but says she's going to help her now, and the two of them head to the freezer so Darby can examine Rohan's body. While they're there, Darby explains how the pacemaker hack would work and then finds the signaling device in Rohan's pocket. She explains how Rohan said he and Bill had a plan and that she had followed Rohan and watched as he signaled to someone. The two of them agree to go out and try to find whoever it was that Rohan was signaling to, but in order to survive out there, they have to wear special suits that will protect them from the elements. On their way to Rohan's signaling point, they're recounting everything that had happened up to that point and discussing who might be the killer. Darby says she's got a bad feeling from David, and Sean says that if he was going to kill anyone, it would be Lee because she took Andy's focus off of him. They eventually make their way to the coast where they find a raft for Rohan's boat, Last Chance, but before they can do anything else, they decide they need to go back to the hotel before the storm hits them. On their way back, the snowmobile breaks down and they decide they'll have to walk back. When it seems like they're not going to make it, they stumble upon a guard shack where a car is parked outside. The two get in the car and their special focus on where Darby places the helmets in the back seat, which we'll talk more about later. They're unable to find a key, but Sean finds something called an OBD terminal, which allows her to gain access to the car's computer system and start the engine. This seems to signal to Darby that Sean is more technically savvy than she had previously let on. Darby asks Sean if she just hacked the car, and Sean replies, "Well, I do know my way around a vehicle command." On the way back, Sean's driving like a maniac and ends up crashing the car. Darby falls out of the vehicle, and as she's lying on the ground, we see another flashback to her and Bill hunting the Silver Doe killer. The two of them meet with another sleuther and help identify the body of a victim. While they're in the coroner's office, they find the ring of the killer's wife with E. Bell inscribed inside. On their way back to the car, Bill sneezes and explains he has a genetic syndrome that causes him to sneeze when he transitions from dark to light, and that his father had it as well. Fun fact, both I and my son actually have this same genetic syndrome. I just didn't know it had a special name. Anyway, Darby and Bill head to a local motel where they convince the front desk that they're staying there but had lost their key. In the room, Darby attempts to make a move on Bill, but he says he wants to go to bed. But the next morning they carry through with the hookup, and it's at this point that we cut back to present day as Sean is dragging Darby back to the hotel. They make it back and Eva injects Darby with morphine using a similar needle as the one found in Bill's room, which Todd retrieved out of a locked unit. I found this interesting because this would mean that only a few people in the hotel have access to this morphine, which really limits the amount of people that could have gotten it and then got to Bill's room and injected him. While Eva's treating Darby, Sean is struggling to get her helmet off, and at that moment, Andy enters the room and tries to help remove it. Andy asks Sean how much oxygen she has, and Sean says 2 minutes. Andy pulls out a laptop, and Sean asks if this is another hack. While Andy tries to unlock the helmet with his computer, Todd attempts to drill through the helmet, but neither of them are successful. They ultimately decide that they have to do a tracheotomy so Sean can continue breathing. Darby wakes to find Zoomer in her room, and when she opens the curtains, he sneezes and explains he has the same genetic condition as Bill, and the episode ends with Darby seemingly connecting the dots that Bill is, in fact, Zoomer's father. Okay, so there's a lot to discuss here, and the first one being that over 98% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So help me hit my goal of 10,000 subscribers if you're enjoying these videos. Let's get back to it. I'm gonna start with Heartfront, which was mentioned at the very beginning of the episode when Darby asks Marius if he had heard from them, and he essentially just ignores her and doesn't respond. I found this interesting because at the end of episode 3, Marius says he received a call from Hardfront, not Heartfront, and this is according to the subtitles on Hulu, which I would assume are accurate. So this leads me to believe that Darby's just making assumptions, or she thinks that she heard Marius say Heartfront and not actually Hardfront. That said, I do find it interesting that in this episode, she says to the group, oh, Heartfront is a pacemaker manufacturer. Like she knows this, like she somehow learned this between the end of the last episode and this episode, which is interesting because this episode picks up literally right after Rohan died and they're all taken to the basement. So I'm continuing to think that she's just guessing here. She feels confident in her answer, but based on the fact that those subtitles said Hardfront at the end of the last episode, and whenever she keeps asking Marius about it, he's shrugging her off, he's not answering, and he gets like a weird kind of nervous look on his face anytime she brings it up. Now, what does this actually mean? Well, it means that Hardfront is something entirely different and not at all what Darby is saying that it is. What that is? I'm honestly not sure. It could be another base or location that the hotel has communications with, but I don't know, really. If you have any ideas on this, I'd love to hear them, so let me know down in the comments. All right, let's talk about this helmet situation, which was evidently another hack and attempt to kill another person on the retreat. But the question is, was Sean the actual target? If we go back to the moment Darby and Sean got in the car, there's very special focus on where Darby places each helmet in the back seat, and the camera lingers there for a moment, emphasizing the importance of the placement. Now, of course, when the car crashes, those helmets are tossed around, so when Sean puts one on, it's very possible she grabbed the one meant for Darby. I was initially wondering why Sean didn't put one of the two helmets on Darby as she pulled her back to the hotel, but it makes sense that one of them may have gotten lost during the wreck, so Sean put the only one on so that she could get back to the hotel. And now, after another hack and another attempted kill, this begs the question, who is behind it all? Well, this leads to my most wild and tinfoil hat theory of the video, and it's pretty out there, so I'd definitely like to hear what you think about this one. The motel room from the flashback was room number 115, and with shows like this, I tend to believe every minor detail is intentional. So what could this room number mean or hint at? Well, if we look at the layout of the present day hotel, we can see that Bill was staying in room 11. Room 5 is marked staff only, so we don't know much about that room. I've gone back through previous episodes and I don't see that room being used, and we barely even see anybody walk past it. So we don't have much to go on there. However, if we add the numbers together, we get 7. And staying in room 7 at the hotel is Zeba, who made it clear in episode 1 that the literal only reason she came to the retreat was to see Bill.
I've been hanging out here hoping to run into Fangs. Can't believe he's at this retreat. I couldn't not accept the invitation.
So, could this be hinting at something going on with Zeba? Maybe Zeba's the killer? I did go back and watch the scene in episode 3 where Darby asks Ray for anybody at the retreat who had a connection with Bill, and Zeba was not mentioned at all. But I'm not sure that entirely rules her out because Ray also didn't say there's no known connection between Zeba and Bill. So yeah, that's my wild out there theory for this episode, and I'm sure I'm wrong, but it would be really cool if that motel room number did have some meaning in the end. All right, that does it for episode 4. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next video. See ya.